folks, Dude here. Coming to yet another occasion of Dude After Dark. Hopefully things are working out in your world pretty good. Right now it seems like completely things are going absolutely freaking snapazoid down in the land down under. Buddy of mine's been sending me some videos to peruse and kind of get a heads up of what's going on. And man, the only thing I can tell you is holy crap. Oh, my stars and garters. And there's no other way to express it other than to simply just say what is going on down there. And oh my, it's just, well, no, sound guy. No, Australia's not a land of firearms to, well, the level, depth, and breadth that we are. But, I know they got some guns, but they're not like, no, okay. They're more like, they see the whatever it is and they're like, ooh, bolt action time, mate. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Right down there, they're basically just finding that stuff, taking that stuff out and, bringing it home for dinner because, there's a lot of things to eat down there that are hoppy, bouncy, bite you, kill you. It's a whole bunch of stuff in Australia that's not exactly nice to play with. Anyway, so coming up on the 9 o'clock time period, and I'm running a couple minutes late. Hopefully everything's running publicly. I do see that I have one person checking me out in the room. If you guys wish to chat room, you can do that at your leisure. Be good times. Everybody can, carouse and all the rest of the good stuff like that there. Patriot Fever's in the room with one of the little Patriot Fevers, so good stuff like that one. Reporting from Facebook jail. Yeah, I caught myself a 30 as well, like I told you guys last week. And it's pretty much a case of, pot calling the kettle black. Liberals really don't like when you ram their stupidity back in their face and, call them on it. They really, really, really don't like that. Anyway, so yes, time to begin. And Beetlejuice, live 5x5, good stuff like that there. Those people in the room, those people not in the room, and those people around about in the interwebs. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. You got many places to go, but you guys decided to hang out with me. So good stuff like that one there. Let me just crank on in my secondary means of online activity, also known as my Gab account, because, I really would love to say exactly what I'm thinking about Facebook, but let's just say it would be safe to say that you could call Facebook Maggot Book and simply substitute the M for the F. You would nail it, because even the gay guys would be going, oh, yeah, they're F Maggot Book. Anyway, so look at this things as it is right now. Australia, wow. I mean, hang on a second. I'm going to have to crack one in honor of the Aussies, man. This is good shiznit. So what's going on is I love the way the Aussies tend to do this. Something becomes something IES, like the union guys, the unis. The truckies or the truck drivers become the truckies. The motorcycle gangs become the bikies. It's one of those humorous things that the Aussies tend to always do is they seem to just find it humorous to just basically make something, an IES. So anyway, the union guys are now having it out with their union heads. And the thing that kind of sucks for them is they've been sold out by the Union Party. So give me 1 second here. Anyway, what's going on is the union guys pretty much signed on board with the Labor Party not selling them out to say, yeah, we're on your side, we're in your corner. We'll be the guys that basically can, give you good credence and, we'll talk to the government and, we'll be in your corner to protect you for the long view. Well, it's now come out that they have to get the jab, as they call it, or the vaccination for COVID-19 to continue work in the workplace. Never mind, most of the time these guys are working outside. Well, they said that they were going to have a get-together and a sit-down, and or at least one of the union representatives was going to come out and let them know what the story was for things at all, and they were going to be protecting them and their right to work and all the rest of this fun fall and, jerk, pull. Kind of one of these motions, but yeah, jerk, pull. Said they were going to come out at 3:30 p.m. their time. 4 o'clock rolls around and they're like, yeah, ain't got squat for you. Go home. Well, there's now a really large crowd of very pissed off construction guys going, Hell no. And they proceeded to pelt the place with rocks, bottles, everything else. The union guys came out. They got pelted with rocks, bottles, and everything else. And it turned into a huge falderall of chicanery, shall I say. I don't like the curse here. But anyway, so the long and the short is essentially the union guys basically been sold out. The Labor Party, which is something that they really tend to support, I would tend to think that the Labor Party in Australia would be very much akin to like the Democrat Party in the United States. You know, very union driven, very union receptive. And that's pretty much the way they roll in that one. And that tends to be like their group of guys they tend to support politically. Barry K. Sean, appreciate you coming in the room, brother. 2 weeks in a row. Yes, you're live 5 by 5. That is amazing. I don't know how that one worked, but hey, I'm glad to see it. So anyway, the union guys basically then said, you know, at 4 o'clock, pound sand, ain't got nothing for you. And the union guys were like, that's it, throwing down, crap's flying, we're going to bust this place up. And they proceeded to just wreck the front of the union building in protest. And they called out the riot cops. The riot cops pretty much came out. And I think they pretty much just steered them away from the union building without making any arrests, because there's been a really major slap of mud in the face of the police right down there, is because they were making arrests on 70-year-old women and a whole bunch of other people that were probably not directly involved with the rioting. And the police gave it such a show of force, it blew back on them bad. The optics on them were horrible, and they looked like a bunch of, they look like a bunch of SS troopers for all intents and purposes. That's pretty much how they really came across. You know, the Aussies are now suffering their own form of Kristallnacht, and that's what they're dealing with. So Kristallnacht is also known as the Night of the Broken Glass, when the Nazi Party came in, wrecked the stores of all owned by the Jews to give a show of force, saying, hey, you guys aren't wanted here anymore. This is your last opportunity to move out, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, they started rounding people up and putting them in the camps, as it were. But anyway, so the politicians are looking hugely bad on this regard. The union guys are looking really, really bad in this regard. And there's a bunch of really, really, really pissed off construction workers going, you guys shined us on. You said that we were going to be able to work. Now, all of a sudden, you're saying we have to get the vaccine or we can't work. Guess what? If we can't work, we're rioting because we have nothing left to lose at this point, and we're pissed the blank off. So the videos that he was throwing at me was a gentleman that was doing the reporting. There's a couple of YouTube videos I was watching. Unfortunately, I was watching them on my phone. I don't have the links right now. I will get the links and I will put them up. But anyway, so I'm still rocking a 30-day on Facebook. So I am still, basically finding stuff and pulling stuff and stashing it on my Gab account, which is what I really, truly tend to do anyway when I'm down on downtime. I usually don't float the two of them too much, simply because, my Gab account's pretty flat. There's not a lot of people that really go there. I think I got like one really good friend that goes there and sees my links and whatnot, and he likes my stuff. But, I really, truly don't do too terribly much on Gab, other than having a Gab account as a fallback when Facebook locks me out, because I still can find the links, grab the links, post them up as a reminder to myself, and then I can go in there and do a news and review and type of stuff like that there. So, news and review. Oh, man. You want to talk about the most obtuse person to possibly ever sit in a state or congressional office or senatorial seat? Oh, my stars and garters. I cannot believe how badly, truly how badly, wow, how completely badly AOC screwed the pooch with this gala dress thing. Oh, my stars and garters. I mean, it was a $30,000 plate, fundraiser, whatever you wish to call it, and it blew back on her horrendously. In no uncertain terms, she looks even stupider than previous, with that whole baby voice thing and just general ability to look completely obtuse. When somebody throws her a curveball, it's really hilarious when she's reading the script. Well, this and the other thing, you this and blah blah blah, and she's got these attack talking points that she throws at the guy, and the guy just goes, "No, that's not the case at all, and that's the policy in which you placed me in," and blah 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 blah. Well, who wrote the paperwork? Well, I wrote the paperwork. Well, you're trying to separate the families, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, yeah, and that was Obama's policy. And she's like, Well, but you still wrote the paperwork that says separate the fit. I cannot do it justice. When she does that whole obtuse kind of like deer in the headlights dink, that I almost pee myself laughing when she gets that. Holy crap! Need to redress. Need to switch gears. And there's about a half a second of pause where you see her go, and I cannot do it justice. It's one of those things that's just absolutely hilarious. If you watch her on seat where somebody basically pins her down on her own idiocy, it's glorious to behold. It really, truly is. Anyway, so AOC did this gala thing. It's blowing back on her unbelievably hugely. And what did she do? Oh, man. I cannot do this justice, folks. Other than to simply explain how she thought a response would be to the mass outrage of her wearing this dress. Holy crap. Holy crap. This whole tax the rich thing that she was trying to do, man, I cannot do this thing justice. Well, anyway, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You know what? AOC. I'm not going to give her like full credit. Anyway, so she sparked a mass outrage by wearing the quote-unquote tax the rich designer dress to a lavish Met Gala in New York City. Dresses are sometimes provided to stars as quote-unquote gifts, while individual tickets to the event reportedly cost $30,000. Tables at the event started $275,000. An ethics complaint was filed against the outspoken socialist for receiving an impermissible gift and violating campaign finance laws. The Office of Congressional Ethics is expected to, quote, immediately open an investigation, end quote. Members of the Congress must follow strict laws regarding campaign finance and receiving gifts. AOC is responding to widespread concern, but it's only making matters worse. The Daily Wire reports that AOC, quote-unquote, scolded haters about criticism, contended that going to the fancy event with rich elites was actually her just doing her job as a congresswoman in New York City. She's working the Bronx, folks, okay? I'm from the Bronx. I got to choke up on this one. It's a hole. Yeah, it's not like you're going to like an upscale area, all right? When they're thinking right now about cleaning out Rikers Island, okay? Now, if you guys know the geography of New York City, basically you got Manhattan kind of like, at a slight slant. Obviously, you got Long Island off to the east, Brooklyn, Bronx, all the rest of these guys, all scattered around. Rikers Island is like right here, okay? Like Kennedy Airport is like right here. For you to be a prisoner in a prison and have planes flying over your head all the time, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, if you're near JFK Airport, you can expect a lot of jet noise. JFK is not an insubstantial airport. It's, as a matter of fact, it's an international airport, okay? So you can expect some pretty good-sized planes to be buzzing your prison at all hours of the day. What are they thinking of doing to Rikers? Well, they're thinking of cleaning out all the prisoners, sending them down to South Bronx, building up that area for rich guys to live in an area where they're going to have planes flying over their heads in a rich guy area into perpetuity. That's the kind of idiocy that you find in New York City, because there's just not a lot of New York City, okay? There's only but so much New York City. Manhattan is 3 miles wide or so, 13 miles long. You're not going to get that much more out of it than what you already got. 8 million people stuffed in an area the size of, not that big. I think actually Baltimore and Baltimore County is actually much bigger than New York City. Believe that. Anyway, so basically she's now doing her spiel. And before haters get, I love this quote. And before haters get wild flying off the handle, New York elected officials are routinely invited in to retain the Met due to our responsibilities in overseeing and supporting the city's cultural institutions for the public. Bravo, Sierra, you stupid. Hang on a second. I got to find the appropriate sound effect before I say something wrong. Oh, you stupid. Unt. Yeah, you stupid unt. There we go. That's about as good as I can say. Oh, it's not your job to go to the Met and play boss. You were there because you wanted to show off that you're an elected official and you have some gravitas with the rest of the socialists. I was one of several in attendance in the evening, AOC added. On Instagram, AOC responded to the criticism that she was hypocritical and a fraud by wearing a quote-unquote tax-the-rich dress to the Met Gala. AOC says, quote-unquote, rich does not mean lawyers and doctors, but rather people with hundreds of millions, if not billions, of dollars. You stupid bleep. You have no idea of the amount of rich people that have streamed out of New York City, the amount of normal population that have bailed on New York City, the amount of people that are going away from New York City because it costs too much to do business there. It costs too much to live there. It costs too much to have a simple basic existence residing in New York City. Hence, people are following their wallets and they're saying, this is stupid. I don't need to live here. I really, truly don't need to enrich this state any further. I'm bailing. That's why New York City right now is a 39% decline in commercial business properties in occupation. Now, if you start doing the math, a bunch of companies are going, yeah, the prestige of being down here in Manhattan and blah, 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 spending $40,000 or $50,000 a month to have this office. What do I really get out of it? Well, I have the prestige of having the address that says New York City and this, that, and the other thing, blah, blah, blah. But also I'm inputting how much of my profits, I'm inputting how much of my daily expenses, I'm inputting how much of my infrastructure costs into simply just gentrifying a city that gives me nothing in return. And you can ask anybody that has a business in New York City, and they will tell you, quite honestly, the worst thing you possibly can do right now is establish a business in New York City, mostly because when you do, you will indebt yourself. And you will indebt yourself in such a way, shape, and form that truly you will feel the pinch come tax time. It's not going to be that you get that much more prestige or you have that much more ease of doing business, because very simply put, with the internet now, you can pretty much be anywhere. Truthfully, if I was set up enough and I could actually do it correctly, let me be perfectly honest here. I literally could do a business amount of work using a smartphone and a keyboard. Truly. Or a tablet, or a laptop, or some other means of exercising ability to deal with the company. Yes, I know that there's some technology that obviously Android and obviously Chrome browsers really don't support so good. And obviously there's going to be, the need to establish a VPN for, secure transfer of information, all the rest of that folderol. That's where you really truly need like a laptop. But if your office consists of a laptop and your ability to go online is truly not limited with you having to be like someplace like, secure, where you can establish a VPN, you pretty much could work just about anywhere on the freaking planet. So, AOC drops the ball yet again. Wow. Just wow. So supposedly President Biden and AOC team up in response to her tax-the-rich stunt. Supposedly Joe Kaka is coming to her aid because, well, obviously she did something really, really stupid. So President, he's coming to the aid of AOC. But then again, there's always going to be that time where you see that deer in the headlights thing where even he's going,
it was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Yep. Because even like sometimes I'm sure that there's going to be two of those neurons that are going to go, hey, Joe Kaka. Yeah, you, sir, have yeah, he finally put one out across the field and off the plate. Even a stop clock is right twice a day. Anyway, so looking at things, there is a really amazing story coming out. This is Patriot Alerts. So Patriot Alerts, Democrat strategist says the party is facing a major blowout in 2022 midterms. It's a well-known D.C. political circles that the parties in power, the White House tends to suffer in midterm losses. That is not always the case. If the president is doing a good job, the party that is in the majority of his party doesn't suffer midterm losses. They gain seats. But President Joe Kaka's popularity is tanking so fast and so profoundly, the losses for his party may be historic. Now, it was well quoted from Bill Clampett Clinton, also known as the crotch master deluxe that basically stuffed a cigar in a skank. Yeah, that guy. Well, anyway, it was noted as saying that when he put in place the assault weapon ban or the Gun Control Act of 1994, he was even quoted, "Yeah, that was a major mistake. I lost 48 seats." Yes, he lost 48 seats. Now, if you look at the majority, I got to do the air quote thing, folks. I got to air quote time. The grand majority that the Democrat Party has in the House and the Senate is razor blanking slim. They have three seats in Senate. 4 if you count, basically that, the vice president can throw a deciding vote if there's like a complete, 50-50 tie, they can't break it. There's a few independents that always vote Democrat, okay? There's maybe like 1 or 2 Democrats that are kind of in majority, like barely. But this is not like a majority, okay? This is one of those things where they flip a couple people over, like Manchin goes, "Yeah, I really, really don't want to lose my job." The guys in West Virginia don't play that crap. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to ask myself, do I really feel like losing my job and being a full-on liberal, or do I feel like acting like a Coop Jackson blue dog Democrat and become just a bit more conservative? Yes, I mean, because if you want to do the research on things, you want to look at stuff. Even Charlton Heston was a Democrat. He became a Republican, and he was stated as saying, "Look, I didn't leave my party. My party left me." And you can look at the history of the guy. I mean, Heston marched with the freedom marches, and he was marching alongside like Martin Luther King and all those guys. Look it up. I mean, Charlton Heston was a good egg. Well, anyway, so going back to the the Democrat strategy stuff and everything, they have a razor slim margin in the Senate. They don't even really have a huge. It's not like a mandate, okay? You don't have 30 or 40 more. In the Congress, they have a 13 or 14 seat majority. That is not a mandate, okay? And I can guarantee you, Thor's hammer, I can guarantee you, they are going to be riding the coattails of a failed administration right now that is going to cost them dearly. They are going to lose so many seats from so many places that have been locked in a perpetuity for the DNC. They are going to suffer such an amount of shock and never, awe and all call the rest of it. But I'm going to be suffering some schadenfreude because I'm going to be the guy going, I told you. Don't vote for Joe Kaka, okay? If you vote for Joe Kaka, you're going to get nothing but if you vote for Joe Kaka, you get Joe Kaka, okay? It's the way it is. What is my phone doing? It's being obnoxious. I'm going to put my phone on airport mode. That's right. Go away. Or airline mode. Anyway, so looking at the big facts and goodness coming therein from, everything by Joe Kaka, there's nothing. And I heard the news guys talking like the other day, and it's like, there's nothing that he's put his hands on that hasn't gone completely wrong. Now, if you know the history on the man, Joe Kaka went into the Congress, or was it the Senate? I think he went into the Senate. He went to the Senate in 1973. He was 29 years old. Do the math, folks. He's been in there in excess of 50 blanking years. So anyway, Joe Kaka's been in office for a long-ass time. His very first, very, 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 very first notable thing of him shaking himself out from the fray and making a big show about I am Joe Caca, hear me roar, was standing up, not for America, not for the United States military, not for all the 57,000 and change who passed away fighting in Vietnam, but for the Viet Cong. He was one of the hard-charging, how do I say this without saying this? He was one of the hard-charging, I got this sound guy. Yeah, here we go. He was one of the hard-charging.
Juggling thunder.
I don't know if I like that one. Let me try the other version. He was the hard-charging.
Juggling thunder.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, he was the challenge, charging thunder meow of the highest order who contributed to the fall of Saigon in 1974 and our grand evacuation, call it what you will, that looked really similar to what just happened in Afghanistan in 1975. The helicopters landing on the embassy to get our guys out and everything. Big blanking difference. 1975, we got our people out. Read like we got our people out. Joe Caca doubled down on stupid and stranded not just American citizens, but those people who are translators, those people who were facilitators, those people who put their lives on the line to enable us in the ability to fight in Afghanistan. He left those people hanging. And even worse than that, this goes along the line of, the whole way of thinking that I pretty much have had forever is you think you can trust the U.S. government, right? Talk to any American Indian. These people were promised visas. They were promised American citizenship. They were promised an early out, a good escape, and a way to get out of Afghanistan to save their asses. They're still there. If you look at the Taliban guys, they're now hunting them down, openly hunting them down. They're going through their phones going, we must see if you have Christian apps in your telephone. Oh, you have a Christian app. Take him out back and shoot him. No, I have it handled. Bang. That's the stuff that's happening in Afghanistan right now. Patriot Review in the room says, well, we need to make sure that some blue state governors ousted also so they can't retire knowing the seat gets filled blue. Well, the biggest damn problem is in my blue state, I know the guy that's slotted in, and he's probably going to win the gubernatorial election. No issues. I know for a fact he's probably going to get in there. No problem at all. And the truth about it is the guy is ragingly anti-gun. Financially, he's actually not too terrible bad because what usually happens in the state of Maryland is there's a 3-person voting block, I guess you could say, for big financial things. And it's the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the comptroller. Well, he's been the comptroller forever. And he's been a guy who's been wanting to be the governor forever. And he's now slotted in to be the guy to be governor. And truthfully, he's not great. He's not as bad as some of them, but he's not great. He's an anti-gunner from way to hell back. And I have it on good authority that he's pretty much the guy that's going to be elected as the governor. I'm not going to have to worry about getting it. Oh, yeah, I had a really horrible boating accident. So, yeah, all my stuff is just, it's gone. Terrible, man. You know what? All the records I had for everything that I had is gone. Oh, man, what am I supposed to do now? I have to start from scratch with like a butter knife or something, Yeah. Bad gun laws decree bad legislation, decree bad people putting bad laws in, and top on down. Anyway, so looking at that one, going back into the story, the marked decline in support for President Biden and his administration nationally and in key swing states indicates the Democratic Party can endure a blowout defeat in 2022 midterm elections, says Douglas Schoen, a political consultant who served as an advisor to President Bill Clinton and to the 2020 presidential campaign of Michael Bloomberg, wrote an opinion piece in The Hill. Quote, moreover, Joe Kaka is significantly weak in a significantly weaker position now than both of his most recent Democrat predecessors, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, at their point in their presidencies, which suggests that Democrats could suffer even more substantial losses in 2022 than the party did in 1994 and in 2010. 1994. Remember that I was telling you about the assault weapon ban? Joe Kaka has got problems. And it looks like Mrs. Dude went to Chick-fil-A. I got a chicken sandwich in my future.
There's an eyebrow crawling around on the stoop. There's an eyebrow.
Oh, what?
Come get it. It's a big eyebrow crawling around on the stoop.
What are you talking about?
Look at it. It's huge. It's black and fluffy. Caterpillar.
Oh, there's a caterpillar on the stoop. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, they're looking at like polls right now for Joe Kaka, and the polls are showing less than 40% of the country approves of his job. Okay, folks, here's the numbers. For the first time, a greater share of Americans disapprove. 45% of Joe Kaka's handling of the coronavirus pandemic than approve, which is 42%. This week, just 40% approve of the president handling jobs and the economy, while 47% disapprove. In recent weeks, usually have approved more than disapproved. Only 16% of Americans, adults, think that the economy is improving, while nearly 3 times as many, 44%, say it's getting worse. Another 27% say the economy is about the same. At the beginning of the Biden presidency, just the greatest share of Americans as today said the economy was worsening, 44%, January 30, February 2. Poll, but that changed quickly in May or part of June. More people saying the economy is improving than worsening. No longer, it added. So basically, Joe Kaka is screwing the pooch yet again, and well, he's consistent. Well, there's another shoe to drop, folks. Yes, and this is one I never would have wished on my worst enemy. But let's just say that Joe Kaka has a few skeletons in the closet. Yes, there was a genealogist. This is also coming from the Hill. So a genealogist that conducted a sweeping look into President Kaka's lineage says records show that some of the Scranton, PA natives' ancestors on his father's side owned enslaved people. According to Bannerman, the 1800 census showed that, Joe Kaka's great-great-great-grandfather, Jesse Robinette, owned 2 enslaved people in Allegheny County. Another great-great-great-grandfather, Thomas Randall, enslaved a 14-year-old boy in Baltimore County. This guy is like the gift that keeps on giving, Every time you think he's done blowing stuff up, there's something else. There's another shoe to drop. And I'm sure, I'm absolutely, positively, completely sure that the DNC would never, ever bring up something along the lines of, well, Donald John Trump, his lineage probably has something icky in the background. I really wish they would start throwing that stuff around, because it is going to be blanking glorious when things are going, yeah, well, Trump did this, Trump did that. It's like, yeah, well, Biden's great-great-grandparents basically owned slaves. It's like, supposedly he's corrected his ways for the family now. Yes, he's so empowering to the black race that blah, blah, blah. I cannot do this justice, folks. This stuff comes out of the woodwork. Let's see. Scroll. Let's see. Scroll. I mean, some of these things are just memes I could pop up. Okay, this one, this is kind of one of those really bloody, obvious ones that pretty much anybody who's a good observer knows. Fox News is not the one that was opened up by John Ailes and, all the rest of that good stuff. And it's not what it actually started out to be. And it's not the same animal at all. At all. How do we know this? Well, this is coming from TuckerCarlson.com, and we're talking about none other than this name positively just makes me just dry heave. British, how do I say this without saying this? Prick. Yeah, British prick. British prick Piers Morgan has now joined the Fox News media. Ugh, this is just disgusting. Veteran broadcaster Piers Morgan will join News Corp and Fox News Media in a global deal that includes content across a variety of platforms, including Fox Nation and the New York Post. Now, this says it all exactly. Rupert Murdoch is not a conservative. Quote, Piers is the broadcaster every channel wants, but is too afraid to hire. News Corp chief executive Rupert Murdoch said, no, they don't want to hire him because he's a blanking asshole. That's why they don't want to hire him. Every time he's ever done an interview and it basically got, made to look stupid, he gets snarky, nasty, and even more Piers Morgan than Piers Morgan. Quote, Piers is a brilliant I can't talk today. Piers is a brilliant presenter, a talented journalist, and says what people are thinking and feeling. Yes, in communist nations and socialist entities, Murdoch added. Quote, he has many passionate fans around the world, and we look forward to expanding his audience in the UK at Fox Nation, Sky News Australia, The Sun, and the New York Post. Notice, Sky News Australia, The Sun, and New York Post. Stridently very left organizations, newspapers, and news media outlets. Screamingly left. Fox now is also kind of like, there's been a lot of people that are like, you know what, I'm not watching Fox anymore. I don't like it anymore. I'm not watching it. People are turning on like OAN and, all the other conservative news outlets, Newsmax. And, there's a bunch of other places to go. You don't need to watch Fox. And you really, really don't need to watch CNN. Morgan, for the record, has been slamming Joe Kaka lately, and his new platform could give him even more room to go after the White House. Okay, the president that's in office is going to be the one that the news guys are talking about. It's not a great mystery to discover this. Hello? Why would he be talking about Trump? Trump right now is probably enjoying getting his businesses built back up, looking maybe like a future run for, some office somewhere. Why in the world would he be talking about anybody other than the current resident of the White House? Yeah, Morgan recently slammed Joe Kaka for the, quote, deadly Afghanistan fiasco, end quote, warns that if he, quote, goes woke, he will go broke, end quote. Now, who's been saying go woke, go broke? Let's see. Oh, yeah, it's been all the conservative news outlets for time in memoriam. By trusting liberal and ripping Biden for his rambling, stumbling, dreadful decisions on foreign policy. Okay. Let me just explain this to anybody who doesn't understand the way things are. Anybody that's on the left, anybody that's not on the conservative bent, anybody that has like 3 brain cells functioning. We told you what Joe Kaka was going to do. We said it. We just basically made lists of it. We told you from top to bottom what Joe Kaka will do if he is elected as the president of these United States. We told you. Remember that. We told you. You asked for this, okay? All you liberal Democrat guys who voted for Joe Kaka, you asked for this. We gave you secondary news sourcing. You blew it off. You said all of that is irrelevant because it's coming from the wrong people's mouths and we don't like you guys and you're icky and all the rest of that fun folderol. You didn't trust anybody's other statements of fact other than, the pablum that you guys were being spoon-fed by the left-wing media. Remember that. You asked for Joe Kaka. You wanted Joe Kaka. You said the only solution to all the world's problems is removing Trump from office and sticking in Joe Kaka. Oh, Trump's not doing anything right because he's Trump. He's a horrible, icky, nasty, orange Cheeto guy. That's all you had, okay? That's all you had. You were saying through the hate Trump mantra that you needed to remove Trump because Trump was so bad. Trump was so icky. We hate Trump so much, we have to replace him. Never mind the fact the guy you replaced him with is an utter, complete ineptitude boob. Patriot Fever in the room says, how soon until Hannity gives Fox the elbow? I think when his contract runs out or he can't milk it any, he's a good capitalist. He's going to milk it for all the cash he possibly can. But you got to remember too that Hannity is monomaniacal. His marriage is over now. He's not married any longer. Who knows where his wife and children are, but he's now married to that gig of sitting in front of the camera and spouting off his stuff. And I'm not a huge Hannity fan. I never really have been a huge Hannity fan. Pretty much the guy just gets on the radio and says his spiel. He's just annoying. I can't listen to him. Him and Mark Levin. I cannot listen to them. I just simply cannot. I'm truly going through still major withdrawals, missing El Rushbo because there is no replacement for Maho Rushy. There's no replacement. Now there is a couple of guys I do like, but I really truly don't get much opportunity to listen to daytime radio because, well, obviously I work at night and I'm sleeping in the daytime, so I don't get much opportunity. Am I going to listen to it in review? Potentially. I mean, there's other guys on the radio I listen to a little bit, but was it his name? Will Cal or something is on one of the XM right-wing channels, and I listen to him a little bit, but even he gets annoying as hell with this whole world is coming to an end crap. Okay, it's not coming to an end, all right, but there is a lot of things that need truly to get fixed. The country is not that destitute that we can't turn things around within 5 years. Okay, truly, we can do better than we have been doing. We just really truly need to remove the guys that are completely screwing everything up, and all the bureaucracy needs to get hacked in half. Little Patriot one. I'll get that later. Thanks. Little Patriot one and Mrs. Patriot said hi, by the way. Cool. Thank you so much. Let's see. So anyway, Joe Kaka has nothing to worry about from Piers Morgan because Piers Morgan is not going to be that harsh a critic other than simply putting on something to make himself look notable. And I'm not feeling it. So anyway, I don't know if you guys heard about it or not, but the recall election on Gavin Newsom didn't fail miserably, but it wasn't like the huge success they were hoping for. But anyway, what has he done? He's doubled down on asshole. That's pretty much what only way you can say it. But he just became even more of a tyrannical dictator, and I'm not even going to get into it. But let's just say that pretty much everything in California right now is just teetering in the it's just it's doing one of those. It's definitely doing more than a little bit of because every time he says something and they see the numbers crash, exactly. The population is like,
you're despicable,
but they put him back in again. I'm sure all those people that were not hardcore, Democrat guys or people that were enabling the false votes to go in and removing votes and all the rest of that stuff, I'm sure as soon as they saw the voting results, they were I'm sure they were like that one. And they were most definitely feeling No, they were not feeling snoo, okay? No, I can guarantee you they will not feeling snoo. Oh, no, they were not. There was no snoo for the guys in California. They were just, yeah. Why do you got to do the ding sound, guy? Every time, okay? Every time. It was not snoo, okay?
death.
Yeah, it was death by It was not snoo. All right, so anyway, there was a huge anti-vaccine mandate protest in New York City. More chanting against Biden. I cannot give any more credence other than simply saying F Chuck Joe Biden has been like a crowd chant at a lot of sporting events. And F Chuck Joe Biden has been happening at a lot of places. It's become a battle cry now. And I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's not going away. So F Chuck Joe Biden is all over the place. On Pedro Rivera says, Ben Knowles and Ben S. podcast have filled Rushy's spot nicely for me. I'll have to look those guys up sometime. That's kind of cool. But yeah, we still miss Maha Rushy. He was irreplaceable and is irreplaceable. This one's kind of cool. This is one that I thought was really kind of interesting, where you have all these guys screaming MEeeee about, oh no, it's 30 years old. It's no good. You haven't stored it correctly. It's dead. Just give me 1 second here. Anyway, the long and the short is essentially that the let's see, that's not in there. That's not in there. No, I'm gonna have to look that up and get that one. I'm gonna have to look that up and get that one. That's all I can think of. But I'll let that one be a surprise when I finally use that one. But anyway, there's a article over on ammoland.com. And it was posted up September 15 by Dean Weingarten. And the crux of it is, and this stuff looks absolutely beautiful. I cannot begin to tell you how nice this stuff looks in the picture. But it was a shelf life test of 22 rimfire ammunition that was 65 years old. So the article starts out, how long can ammunition be stored for it degrades? Much depends on the storage conditions, reasonable care. Ammunition has a shelf life of many decades, as verified by tests done by the military centerfire cartridges. But how long does 22 rimfire last before it starts to degrade? There has been not much systematic long-term storage testing of 22 rimfire. It tends to be used as an expendable item. Some people have found an old box or two of ammunition and checked it for viability. This correspondent was able to obtain a large cache of 65-plus-year-old 22 rimfire ammunition with good pedigree. The bulk of the ammunition was Remington Standard Velocity 22 long rifle ammunition made before 1956. Now, I don't know if that's going to be corrosive or non-corrosive priming. I would tend to think, because it was in the 50s, I would tend to think it was non-corrosive priming. So basically, lead staphnate. Quote, met the owner of the University of Wisconsin in 1970, started a friendship that lasted 48 years to his death in 2018. The friend was Don Cowling from Middleton, Wisconsin. He is a world record rat hunter who in his correspondence wrote about in 2016, I then became aware of the provenance and the extent of the ammunition cache. From the article, the 22 ammunition has been in jars for over 60 years. So we're talking like mason jars. He allowed me to crack the seal on a mason jar that had been filled before I entered first grade. I anticipated the odor of acetone, which you often find as old smokeless powder. I could not detect any, nor could my friend. There was a faint hint of old wax, barely noticeable. My friend gave me 24 rounds to test to see if they'd been any degraded. I shot ammunition out of a Mossberg target rifle of similar age. I fired the rounds at my brother's long-established range behind the garage on the family land of northern Wisconsin. Every round fired as though it was new. I fired 4 5-shot groups at 50 feet from a rest. The first was the largest at 0.56 inches center to center, so half inch. The rest were 0.32, 0.31, and 0.31. Not enough to win matches, perhaps, but perfectly good for hunting. My brother fired the last 4 rounds offhand. Don treasured his privacy, so his name was not mentioned in the 2016 article. The ammunition was mentioned with a picture. Don knew I would reveal his name after he died and did not object. Don was a star handgun competitor to the University of Wisconsin. A top handgun competitor can easily run through 50 to 100,000 rounds a year. Don told me the ammunition had been put into the quart jars before or during 1956. Don was on the University of Wisconsin varsity ROTC pistol team when he won the regional championships in 1955. Don always paid for things in cash or in trade or barter. I suspect the ammunition was obtained at a special deal. Placing the ammunition in quart jars sealed from the atmosphere, it likely helped keep the bullet lubricant from oxidizing. Ammunition obtained later was so noted in his records. His records show the pre-1956 ammunition to be Remington Standard Velocity. His records match the ammunition head stamps. Don kept meticulous records. After he died in 2018, the correspondence had access to his lifetime records and journals. I was able to purchase his 22 ammunition cache of tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition from his estate. Over 20,000 rounds from the cache were Remington Standard Velocity ammunition obtained prior to or on 1956. Transferred to quart jars and boxes by 1956. It was stored from 15 to 17 years in an attic in Madison, Wisconsin, then underground from 1970 to 72. Then started underground from 1970, 1972, sometime between those 2 years, to 2018 in a basement in Middleton, Wisconsin. After the ammunition was purchased from the estate, it was moved across the country, then stored in a secure underground location. The ammunition was purchased to conduct rigorous long-term storage testing of 22 rimfire ammunition. If there are other caches containing significant amounts of 65-year-old 22 rimfire ammunition, they are unknown to this author. So anyway, the guy basically got a hold of this stuff, shot this stuff, and proved that old ammo still works. So basically, the ammunition, average test, 65-year-old, blah, 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 blah. 5-shot groups, 25 yards, was basically roughly about a half inch. Velocity measurements was roughly 1,098.9 feet per second. Standard deviation was 19.8 feet per second. Extreme spread, 101 feet per second, so 1041 to 1142. That's comparing it to CCI's standard velocity of recent vintage, which is 1072, and extreme spread of 84 feet per second, so 1035 to 1119. So really, really similar performance. Reliability for 500 rounds fired. CCI standard velocity, 1 failure to fire. Round 102, strong firing pin strike. Rotated the round and fired on the second strike. Old Remington standard velocity, 1 failure to fire. Round 252, second round after cleaning. Very light primer strike, probably mechanical rather than ammunition failure. The round was rotated. It fired normally with a second strike. Very similar type of performance. So anyway, practical purpose is 22 ammunition. There's no significant difference between 9-year-old CCI ammunition and 65-year-old Remington ammunition. That's pretty blank and cool, man. So the old stuff still works as long as you store it nicely. Yeah, as long as you store it nicely. I don't know if you guys heard about this one or not, but besides supporting that rapine skank that basically was like the soccer skank making all the trouble for everybody, and she's supported by Subway. Well, Subway actually did something really a-hole. So basically what happened is somebody was involved in a shooting incident. There was a person named Araceli Sotelo. Was not fired defending herself technically, but she's suspended until a video of her defending herself during an armed robbery is off the internet. Really? So video is up there. We're not going to let you work. We're going to keep you suspended. So technically you're not fired, but we're going to hold you in limbo in any way, shape, and form and screw you over until you basically become financially destitute. So you then back down and go, okay, I'll pull the video. If I was her, I would tell everybody to clone a copy of that video, put it up there, and tell Subway, I'm not shopping there until you basically give this person her job back. Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you guys heard about this one or not, but, W. Bush, was dogging on Trump, saying goes down as one of the worst presidents in history. I got bad news for you, W. I really have an axe to grind with you in the first place. I consider you one of the worst tyrants to ever sit in the White House with your Patriot Act that now placed upon us such a strike against our personal liberties. We're still feeling it to this very day. You, sir, are an asshole. I don't know if you guys caught up on this one or not, but supposedly there's now a special on Palmetto Armory? What is this guy? Palmetto State Armory has an upper and a lower that is just ridiculously cheap. I mean, this is like insane prices. They're selling a 16-inch upper with charging handle and bolt carrier. $279.99 for a 16-inch classic M4 Freedom upper with bolt carrier and charging handle. OD green, spray paint if you don't like it, for $279.99. Well, let's just do the math here. Keep myself honest, okay? So $279.99, right? Okay. Then they're selling a PSA AR-15 Freedom Classic lower with collapsible stock, olive drab green, $125.99. Basically, you can build a brand new. You're going to be breaking it in. Every round that comes out of it is going to be yours for $405.98. Let me put this in perspective, folks. There's uppers on Gunbroker and all over the internet right now that are more than $400. This is a complete weapon system ready to go out and do everything that you need to do for an affordable price, ready to rock and roll. Jan, appreciate you hanging out with me, man. How old is old when we speak of ammo? Well, for me, technically, if I'm thinking about ammo age, what I'm worried about more than anything is literally, like they said in the article, how was it stored? If it was stored in really, really hot conditions, there's a major problem you're going to have with 22 ammo, especially old 22 ammo. And I've seen this happen before. I was at a gun range, and I forget what I was shooting. I was pecking away. CLU, dude. Appreciate it. Hey, man. Yes, I could definitely give you links to the AR there. Hang on one second here. Let's see. This guy here. Let's see. I will give you the links to that one in the room. Okay, so that's going to be the upper right there. And this one's going to be the lower right here. Let's see. Right there. There you go. So that's upper and lower there, CLU. So anyway, like I was saying, the biggest thing you got to worry about with 22 is the fact of how it was stored. So I'm at the range. I'm pecking away with something. I forget what it was. And I hear this woman next to me, probably like Dad's revolver or something. And she's like, bang, bang, foot. It's like, whoa. I put mine down, pointed down range, of course, safely, put it down, come running over. It's like, don't shoot that again. She's like, well, what's wrong? It's like, that's called a squib load. What happened there is the round didn't fire all the way, and the bullet is stuck in the gun. If you shoot another round, you're going to damage the firearm. Unload the gun, go out there and talk to the guy at the desk. He's got something out there called a range rod, which is basically like a steel rod. They'll put it down the barrel and knock the bullet out. So she did that. She comes back in, loads it back up with the same ammo. Bang, bang, bang. It's like, you got to be kidding me. It's like, you got to go see the guy again. Stop shooting that crap-ass ammo. Well, the reason why it did that is there's a story I was reading back in one of the gun magazines years and years and years ago. I forget which magazine it was. But the thing about it is they were talking about, like, home load ammunition. And the guy was using cast bullets. So he was taking lead. He was melting it. He was casting it to the correct bullet size. Then he was running it through something called a sizing die that then takes the lead bullet and it squeezes it to the right diameter for that particular firearm. And at the same time, the groove that's around the bullet, it presses some lubricant in there. So when you shoot the bullet doesn't make a whole bunch of lead get stuck in the gun barrel. So in the process of doing that, they're all lubed up. He's using probably a classic beeswax / what was it? It was like, if I remember the correct formula, it was like beeswax, petroleum jelly, mineral oil, and I think there was like one or two other things in proportion. And what you do is you get this semi-soft lubricant that then stays in place in the gun, a little bit, and keeps the barrel from getting completely gooped up with too much lead. So anyway, this guy had a box of his home load ammunition sitting on the dashboard of his truck as he was driving around out in the field or whatever. And he's like, hey, I'm going to go out and pop off some rounds. So he goes out and he grabs some ammunition. Basically, I think he just dumped it into his hand, loads up the gun. It goes bang. It just went. It's like, what the hell, man? So he basically gets out, a wooden rod, I think he had or something, knocks out the round that got stuck in there, fires it again. 2 rounds go off. Next round craps out. He's like, what's going on here? Well, what he eventually figured out is because the box that he was using was a factory box of ammo. If you look at the factory box of some rounds of ammo, the old ones, they would basically condense the rounds. So some of the rounds were facing up, some of the rounds were facing down, and they would be stacked, head to tail with each other all through the box. Now, the rounds that were pointing down worked perfectly fine. The rounds that were pointing up, the wax melted, flowed into the powder or flowed into the primer, disabling some of the propellant, so the round did not fire correctly. And the guy's like, holy crap, I never ever thought about something like this happening before. So literally that's what happened is half the rounds that were facing up were disabled or potentially a hazard for squib loads because you wouldn't get full potential out of the powder when the round was fired at the time of firing. Now, 22 ammunition back in the good old days, those things were they're gooey, man. I mean, we actually joke around, like in my circle of friends, obviously you see like 22 rounds. They're either black with like goo and lubricant and whatnot, or they're copper looking, where it's what's referred to as a brass wash. It's not a plating. It's a very, very thin coating of another metal on top of the lead to keep the lead from gooping up the bore and give it a quote unquote bearing surface, or a lighter metal that is a little bit harder than the lead, so it doesn't goop up the barrel when you fire the rounds. But anyway, we refer to those other rounds that, basically you can take them out and you literally can write with the things, because they're like barely covered lead, and they're all waxy and gooey and nasty. And, after you shoot your gun with those things, man, trust me, you're going to need to clean it. It's going to be nasty. Jan saying, could you store the box sideways? Well, you have the same problem. You have a box sitting on a hot surface or in a hot area. The wax is melting. The wax is now running down the inside of the cartridge. Is it going to run down and disable the powder? Well, the powder is also laying on the bottom of the cartridge, because anytime you load a pistol cartridge, it's not fully packed full of powder. What normally happens is if you load a cartridge with modern smokeless propellant, there's almost always an airspace. So when you crunch the bullet down on top, there's going to be some room. So when you lay the cartridge over, it's basically going to lay the powder over on its side. Now, there is some rounds that you really, truly have to worry about with that one. Like, supposedly there's something called detonation. And that's literally when you shoot the cartridge. And, you've seen, like, people take gunpowder and they pour it out, they light it, and it goes, it kind of has like an extended burn. Well, that's literally what happens in the cartridge. But because the cartridge builds the pressure up, the powder burns much faster and much more energetically, obviously then putting, the bullet out a lot faster. Well, there's something called detonation. And of all cartridges, they've really been able to duplicate this most times, believe it or not, with the 8mm Mauser, which is what you find in MG34s, MG42s, 8mm Mausers, the 98 Mausers, and, all those classic, the Kar 98s, all those old classic German weapons. A lot of this, the later machine guns were net chambering. But anyway, what they said is if you make a cartridge loading with 8mm Mauser and you have a not sufficient load of powder and the powder is laying along the bottom, the powder doesn't just go, and basically do like a progressive burn. It literally all lights at once, and you have such an amount of chamber pressure that the gun literally just explodes like a grenade. And it's something that they said you got to be really careful about in 8mm Mauser, and not so much in other cartridges, but definitely the 8mm is one. They can almost always count on it being that's the one that's going to detonate. CLUs, most of the 22 have from 10 years ago. Think the older ones with the wax or the newer copper wash. Well, I usually tend to go with the copper wash just because, the gun comes out cleaner. But 22 is a dirty cartridge, man. Most of the time you're shooting it in weapons that are, blowback operated. So pretty much you're taking the cartridge with all the fired powder and you're just throwing it all around inside the gun. I love when people do this line about, the AR-15, it craps where it lives, because it doesn't have a piston style design. Yeah, it gets dirty. Okay. Guns get dirty. That's why you clean them. However, I've seen a number of times that people have done extended performance runs, and they're seeing just how long you could fire an AR-15 before it starts clogging up. It's not exactly that far away from an AK-47. Okay, if you run mag after mag after mag after mag after mag, and you run the thing as dirty as possible, try to get the thing as dirty as possible, see what the failure point is. It's within a few hundred rounds of each weapon system. Trust me. You can look that one up. Was it Iraqi veteran 88? He's done performance runs on both those weapon systems, and they're surprisingly close to each other. I think they're within like 700 or 800 rounds of each one's performance, like fired mag after mag after mag after mag after mag to failure point with full auto. I think we've come up to the point of like 5 after 10 now. So what is this we have going on here again? Oh, yeah, it's going to be an episode of... Yep, that's right. It's another episode of me eating weird stuff again. And what do we have? Well, it's going to be these. We're talking about, of all things, the Pringles Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich potato chip. Now I've tried these previously, but I'll do some on camera just for the hell of it. So, does it really smell like a chicken sandwich? Does it really taste like a chicken sandwich? Ow. Mm. 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 Well, the first thing that hits you is it tastes like a potato chip, okay? Obviously. Mm. Does it taste like a spicy chicken sandwich? Not hugely, but you know, I've tried worse varieties of the Pringles potato chips. I can tell you for a fact, it is not the same thing as the Halo Moa burger. These are just there's a partial amount in this can, and I can't bring myself to eat any further. And then there's still a sealed can up there that I can't bring myself to eat any further. This one is not so hateful, but there is better varieties out there, and this ain't that much of a winner. Trust me. I think what it is they had a tie-in with Wendy's to go, hey, we can make a sandwich-based potato chip. Yeah. No. Jan's saying she's got a pupe load of 22 ammo over 10 years stored in air conditioning. Well, the biggest thing I can tell you about storing 22 ammo, and this is your hugest, most major thing, is you don't want to have one, huge temperature swings. So obviously when they're storing that stuff in the attic in Wisconsin has some pretty wicked summer times, just like everybody else. They have some cold ass winters. So that thing was seeing swings of at least 70, if not 80 degrees either way. You know what I mean. It's 70 or 80 degrees at least in temperature swings from a low to a high at the very least. Now, whenever you hunt or whenever you find yourself up in Alaska and you're dealing with, whatever, there's an old maxim. If you have a scoped weapon, you don't take it out and bring it back in immediately, because what's going to happen is as soon as you bring that weapon inside, it's so cold that all the water in the atmosphere that's, basically you being in there and breathing and all the rest of that fun stuff, because it's much, much higher humidity in a cabin than outside where it's like blisteringly cold. Your gun is just going to go and suck up all that water, and it's just going to be a dripping, wet mess with all the water that's just condensed out of the atmosphere and just went and just started sticking to it. Kind of like the cold soda can trick, where you basically got the cold soda can and it's just like weeping perspiration. Yeah, that's the major problem. Now, the other thing, too, is also if you're doing this in a place like Alaska, your gun is now sopping wet and you take it outside and, oh, yeah, all that water just goes chink and freezes on there as ice. Yeah, that would not be a good time. So usually what they'll do is they'll just simply take the weapon and then just lean it on the wall, or they'll have a rack outside the door where it's going to be handy, but it's going to be maintaining the ambient temperature of outside versus inside. So anyway, continue on like I was saying, Jan, the huge temperature swings is the one you always, always, always want to avoid. Number two, if you can keep the humidity somewhere on the order of not way, way wet, not way, way dry, but the happy medium where you're not going spiking wet and then trying to get dried out again, because anytime you have any of those humidity extremes, obviously it's not good for ammunition, metal, whatever, all that stuff's not great. So the classic sense is like a cardboard box is like, it's like saying, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm basically going to, I'm going to carouse the town and I'm just simply going to raw dog it everywhere I go. You got zero protection, okay? literally, you got zero protection for anything that you might encounter, and you might find yourself in a little bit of trouble afterwards. But anyway, the best thing out there is literally the classic sense, and this is the poor man's solution to everybody's problem, is a desiccant and a military ammo can. Ammo cans are watertight. Even the cheap-ass Harbor Freight ones are surprisingly watertight. I mean, I've seen videos online where the guy basically puts like a GoPro in there, loads it up with weight, puts it in his bathtub, leaves it for like 5 hours, pulls it out, perfectly dry. I mean, the seals on those things are very, very decent. They are copies, very, very decent copies of the U.S. military ammo cans. And I think they may or may not see. And the other dirty little secret is Hang on a second, get an unstable connection thing here. Oh, I had an unstable connection thing here. Okay, so I'm back. Now, the other thing you can do too is if you're looking for opportunity to express your stuff as being dry, trick, and this is dead simple. If you have some wallboard left over, read like plasterboard, you know, like the sheetrock you're putting up in your house. You take some of the sheetrock and you cut a piece that's about, you know, big enough to actually fit in the ammo can. The best way to do it actually would be a piece that's big enough to actually drop in the bottom of the ammo can, but then you're losing about a half an inch of storage area. So that's that kind of, you know, one of those, will it still work if you drop this in there? But you take the wallboard, you cut it to shape. You know, the dirty little secret is you want to leave the sides of it open. You don't want to, like, you know, tape it up or anything so you're not dropping, like, you know, plaster dust everywhere. But the trick is you take that and you put it in an oven and you bake it at low temperature for about an hour. After you're done with that, when it's cooled off and it's still in the oven, because, you know, that's now pretty much a dry atmosphere, take that out, put it in the ammo can, put your ammo on top of that, close it up. And what's going to happen is that wallboard is going to act like a desiccant, and it's going to suck up any remaining atmospheric moisture and place it in itself rather than allowing it to be permeating all the ammunition. And that's one way to do it. But, you know, like you said, you know, if you're running stuff in air conditioning, the major twofold thing that air conditioning does is, number one, it cools the air. Number two, it pulls out a lot of moisture. That's why your air conditioner is constantly weeping water. It's because it's pulling all that water out of the atmosphere and then putting it out, you know, someplace else, rather than just permeating and circulating and doing all the rest of the fun stuff in your atmosphere. It's drying your place out. Hence, you become more comfortable. You're not dealing with a high humidity atmosphere. You've lowered the humidity. It's much more comfortable. CLU says Harbor Freight has metal and plastic ammo cans. Well, believe it or not, Walmart's actually got a pretty good knockoff one that's really cheap. It's like $5 or $7. And, you know, I normally, if I'm buying 22 and I'm just, you know, it's like practice ammo, I'll buy a couple of those things. I'll put the ammo in that because I know it's going to be first use, long distance, you know, basically banging around the car. I'm not going to care about it too terrible much, but that ammunition is going to be first out. I'm not going to cry about, you know, if I'm breaking up an ammo can that costs like $7, I'm not going to cry. The long storage stuff definitely goes into a military grade ammo can, and the ammo cans I've found most times, pretty much you open them up and they're still classic military scented. You open it up and it smells like boot camp, man. But anyway, Hemarsh donate a sealed can to the food bank. I don't know what you mean on that one, brother, but whatever. So anyway, that's another way you can look at things, and, you know, keeping your ammo clean, dry, and secure is just pretty much it. Long store stuff, obviously, you know, your basement, as long as your basement doesn't flood, your basement is actually pretty optimum, except it can be a little damp down there. So you want to make sure that you have either a dehumidifier, which I have had in my old house, and that thing was doing so much work. That thing was always running, pulling out scads of water in the atmosphere because, you know, it was an old ass house with really permeable walls. So my basement was always ridiculously wet. But there was some times where I had that thing so dry, man. You go down there and it was just like, wow, this is like, it almost felt like you're walking around the desert because the humidity was so low that actually the dehumidifier was like, I think my work is done here. And, you know, you basically turn off for a few hours, let it cycle. But keeping your stuff, well, if nothing else, temperature stable and dry is 99.9% of ammunition storage for the long term. Some of the worst ammunition, an old, oh no. Oh, actually, Jan, as long as it's a stable container, I think you're good. A Benefiber container. So what? You're trying to give them more fiber. She's giving me this with a little quirky smiley face. Yeah, only if you're trying to give your targets more fiber. Ooh. On that note, folks, I'm coming up on the I'm coming up on an hour and 15-minute time period. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This video will be up on review on YouTube. Obviously, it'll be posted up on Facebook. Hopefully, I think I got like another. Oh God, I don't even want to click on it, but I know it's in excess of 20 plus days. Jen says she's hiding it. Okay, well, if you, I tell you the best way that you can hide anything that's going to be like singularly unpleasant for people. Like, you know, if you were to say like, it's going to be in the litter box, or it's gonna be someplace that people don't, you know, the manure pile, someplace that people don't want to look. That's your best hiding places. But no, most times people are going to go raiding houses. You know, the brigands looking for 22 ammo, searching your house, and all the rest of that fun stuff. Everyone don't see that happening. But there is plenty of good ideas on how to stash your stuff. Obviously, if you have a watertight container, and you bury it below the water table, yeah, your stuff is obviously going to be, you know, sealed and good into perpetuity and all good stuff like that there. But I appreciate you kind of attention. I'm going to break up this one, folks. You guys hung out with me tonight. You get a gold star for attendance, and I will eat my chicken sandwich because Mrs. Dude has it for me in the next room. Good stuff like that there. I appreciate you kind of attention, you guys hanging out with me, and I'm going to break up with this one. So eat good, keep centering as always. You know what, you love it. Video will be up on review on my 80s podcast channel. And of course, I do have my Gab, but not that many people go there. But I appreciate you kind of attention anyway. I'm going to break up with this one. Eat good, keep centering as always. You know what, you love it. Have a good one. I think I got another video in the can. So stand by on that one. I'll catch you guys later.